Julia Louis-Dreyfus is here. For 9 years, she starred as Elaine on Seinfeld, earning 7 nominations for an Emmy, and she won one time.
Wait till you see the dress that she's got. It's backless. Huh? I'm finally going to make a great entrance.
Backless? You gonna back her in?
Elaine, when a woman makes a ball entrance, she twirls.
She's not gonna
She'll twirl.
Seems like only yesterday, in 1998, Seinfeld left the air as one of the most critically praised and popular sitcoms of all time. Now, Louis-Dreyfus returns to television with her own show, Watching Ellie. Here is a look at this program.
Everything. What everything? What's going on?
All right, listen, let me give you a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
Suppose my big blonde Englishman was cheating on me in a bookstore in Hollywood while I was hiding out in the oversized travel book section.
Ew. Really?
Yeah, really.
I'm pleased to welcome this well-known actress to this table for the very first time. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Seems like only yesterday that Seinfeld left the air, doesn't it? Or not?
Not to
or
me.
Not.
No,
It seems like forever.
We did it a long time, and I guess we finished that thing about 3.5 years ago. So it's but it sure was a heck of a lot of fun to do. There's no doubt about that.
Sure made a difference in your life.
A huge difference in my life. A huge difference in my life. Yeah, a very happy difference. I mean, because it was so satisfying creatively.
Yeah. Why? What made it that satisfying? Was that the fact that you? Let me offer possibilities. Okay,
all right,
you can choose one.
A, B,
choose
C,
one. A,
or
B, C.
all of
One, brilliantly written.
Yes, correct.
B, a wonderful ensemble group of actors. 3, it just had the X factor. Something makes a magical show, and that had it. ABC.
ABC. I guess all 3, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was extraordinary that we all were lucky enough to come together. But once we came together, it was sort of there. I mean, I don't think there was magic beyond that. I mean, it was just a great group of people at the right place at the right time, and we had a lot of fun. We enjoyed the process, and I think that translated.
After the end of Seinfeld, did you then think, what's next for me? And begin to say, however long it takes, I'll wait until I find what's just right for...
I wasn't focused on working after Seinfeld at all. I didn't have an agenda.
Really? Just take the money and go.
I actually wanted to just chill out and sort of be at home for a really long time. I have 2 children. And
well, what'd you name these children?
one of them is Henry, and the other one is, of course, Charlie. My 2 favorite names.
Great.
And
we don't call Henry Hank, do we? We call him Henry.
no, we call him Henry.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like that. Don't call him Hank.
No.
Forever.
Henry is very
Henry's
dignified.
good. No, it has a great sound to it. And
Thank
Henry
you.
and Charlie sounds good, too.
Yeah, and they're good boys.
They are?
Yeah.
How old are they now?
9 and 4.
Henry's 9?
Yeah.
And Charlie's 4.
4, yeah.
And do they like each other?
Sure. Well, I mean, as much as siblings can.
Yeah, right.
You know, let's be realistic. But
So you sat around
so I sat.
saying,
Well, I didn't. I went home and I sort of hung out at home for 3 years, essentially, and did that.
getting to know your family.
Well, I knew him already, and I liked him, and I think that's why I wanted to be home. And that was nice. And then,
Are you holding this table up?
yeah, it's wobbly, and I'm thinking about fixing it. In fact,
Okay.
can somebody bring in a
Carpenter.
toolkit?
Yeah, we'll fix this.
Anyway, so that's what I did. I didn't have a work agenda at all. And then I would say I started to get the itch a little bit. I worked with Larry, Larry David.
Right.
I did Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I don't know, that was exciting and fun to sort of feel the work thing happening again and exercise that muscle, and it felt good, and I started to get a little bit of a bug to get back to work.
And then your husband,
Then my husband,
being a heck of a guy he is,
yeah,
creates Watching Ellie.
yeah, he did. He created it and sort of presented it to me. Not sort of. He presented it to me. He didn't tell me he was doing this. Yeah. So it was kind of exciting. It was very exciting. And he and I had been talking. I had been talking to him about if I were to go back to TV, I would have to do something very different. I'd have to sort of push the edge of the envelope, because otherwise it would just be a bummer. I didn't want to do the same thing. Even if the same thing was good, I needed to make a different thing. And so he came up with this concept of the show, that is to say, the real-time idea.
22 minutes actual time.
Exactly.
In the life of Ellie.
Exactly, right. And so that was exciting.
Now, how hard is it to do that, or how easy? You have one camera.
We have one camera, and the
real time.
Right, we have real time and one camera. So it's very different than doing the kind of television that I had been used to doing. It's shot like a movie, so it's very, you don't rehearse for 3 days and then shoot for a day and a half like, frankly, we did. That's how we did Seinfeld for the most part. You shoot every single day, and each episode takes about 5 days to shoot. And then, of course, the real time is this puzzle for everybody in terms of telling the story, and of course in terms of kind of continuity of coming around a corner and making sure that everything connects. We've set up this formula that we must go by every week, and it's really challenging and thrilling.
Do you define yourself as a comedian? Or an actor?
An actor. An actor. I've never done stand-up or anything like that. Ooh, but
why? Because does the thought of doing stand-up just send chills through you?
Yes, it does, yeah. It's a very different way of performing, very different.
And yet, probably Jerry today even, would define himself as a stand-up comedian more than he would as an actor or a sitcom creator or anything like that.
I'm sure of that, yeah.
That's what he loves most, he once said.
Yeah, and I mean, he always said on the set he wasn't an actor, and we would always tease him about...
About what?
We'd give him tips on how to act. Walk over there, be funny.
Oh, you would tell him, we'll help you through this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, he's the first one to admit it.
Yeah. What's his genius, you think? Stand-up comedy.
I think it's stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
I think that he enjoys what he does, and that comes through.
Absolutely. You may have heard me say that in a conversation. Will Smith talked to me about that. The idea that if you are having a wonderful time,
it translates.
It's infectious.
It is. Yeah, it's completely true.
It's like,
Yeah, that's what was so great about doing Seinfeld, actually, is that we were having so much fun, and then other people were digging it. It was like, wow, this is so cool.
That can be better.
Yeah.
Was Saturday Night Live like that?
No.
It was awful.
In a word, no.
No.
No, it wasn't.
Why not?
Well,
another big break
reasons.
for you.
Well, it was a big break for me, yeah, for sure. And it was definitely a great training ground for me, there's no doubt. And in the fact that it was extremely difficult to do. I was very young, and I was unbelievably naive.
Now that you're old and
now that I'm an old hag. I didn't know how the business worked, and I didn't know how that show worked, and there's a lot of politics about getting your material on the air, and I came from doing sort of ensemble work and improvisational. We're a team and stuff like that. That stuff doesn't translate.
Plus, you were a graduate of Northwestern.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you attended Northwestern.
I attended, yeah. I actually left Northwestern to do SNL.
Yes, I know.
But at any rate, that was hard, and it was hard to be a woman there, and there wasn't a lot
hard to be a woman there.
Oh,
what does
yeah.
That mean?
Well, it means that they weren't writing material for women. Writers were much more inclined to write for the men.
Why was that?
I don't know. I guess they thought the guys were funnier.
Today they've got lots of female characters, don't they?
Yeah, they do today, but this was not today.
Not today.
Yeah.
This was when? When were you there?
This was 1983 to 86.
Was that a good year?
1983?
Yeah.
No.
84?
No, none of it.
85?
Exactly. There were things on the show that were good, but
But you don't have great memories about.
Not really. No, I don't. I mean, is that terrible to say? I don't really.
No, of course not.
It was fine. I'm not kidding. I really did learn a lot about how the business worked.
Yeah.
But it wasn't creatively satisfying. But I will tell you one thing. I came out of that show and I said to myself, I'm not going to do anything again unless it's fun.
And fun.
Fun.
Yeah. And so then when you got to Seinfeld, you said, Jesus.
This is fun. And what also was good came out of Seinfeld. Well, I knew Larry David. Larry David was a writer on SNL. Yeah. And that's how come he sent me these Seinfeld scripts, because he knew me And so that's something good that came out of SNL,
So he
too.
gets the credit for Elaine, doesn't he?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
He wrote it.
he wrote it, and not only that, he thought you'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you walked in and they just said, bingo. I mean, it was not a whole lot of maybe. It was walk in, bingo.
Yeah.
All right, we found our Elaine.
Yeah, that was nice. It was great. And when we were doing and when I read those scripts of Larry's, and I thought, God, are we going to be able to get away with this? Because that show was not written like most television shows.
How so?
The conversations were not particularly meaningful. They were small conversations that were funny.
Yeah, funny, right.
And that appealed to me tremendously.
You'll do 15 episodes of this for this season.
Well, actually,
have
this
they already
season
bought more? Or?
No, not. I mean, for next season,
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. But we'll do. In fact, we're doing 13 this season, and then subsequent seasons will be 15.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted that we've been able to pull that off.
Apart from the family,
Yes.
the husband and your 2 sons, apart from this successful sitcom, what's your biggest passion for?
Oh God, besides eating and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, eating is passion.
Well, sure. I mean, what's not to like about food?
Yes.
What's my passion? I would say I'm passionate about the environment, and
Right.
I do political work for the environment. But besides that, I just really enjoy making people laugh. That's my thing. That's really what I like to do.
And you do it well.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for
Will you
having
come
me.
back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
When?
Don't press me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Julia Roberts is here. Last week, Forbes magazine named her the most powerful celebrity in the world. Her films have generated more than $2.3 billion at the box office since her Oscar-nominated performance in Steel Magnolias. The small-town girl from Smyrna, Georgia, has become America's sweetheart. You know her from these films.
I'm not a bug. I'm a fairy.
I do not believe in fairies.
Every time someone says I do not believe in fairies, somewhere there's a fairy that falls down dead.
I do not believe in fairies!
There he is again. Snoop Doggy Dog.
I'm going to marry Maggie someday.
Oh, really?
He's an attractive man.
The vicious reporter is attracted. You're trying to tell me the atheist now believes in God.
I'm trying to tell you that I don't want you to do it.
Well, just think about all we'll have to talk about when you bring me back.
What are you talking about, huh? Are you watching me, cheering? What do? You sit in your car? Are you waiting in an alleyway? Is it every day
It's
or
not
what?
like-
What is it? Tell me what it is.
You don't ride your horse
No,
anymore.
do not change the subject. Get out of my house. Get out of my house right now.
You want me to help you let you die?
What do you decide? You don't ask me or anything, you just decided? And then you want me to say, you want me to tell you I love you.
She left her husband. He was a horrible man who used to beat her. No. Started right after their honeymoon. At first he was charming, tender, but it all changed.
I want a child.
What about adoption? You filled out all the applications.
Mama, no judge is going to give a baby to someone with my medical record. No. I'm a busy girl. I've got exactly 4 days to break up a wedding, steal the bride's fella, and I haven't one clue how to do it. He's written 3 majority opinions, strongly protective of the environment, and he was near perfect in his support of tax protesters. Everyone is assuming that the motive is hatred or revenge.
Or an attempt to influence the social agenda of the court.
What if the issue involved old-fashioned material greed?
This isn't about me or you. It's about them. And believe it or not, I am trying. And I do have their very best interests at heart.
I'm not a planner. I wouldn't say I was a planner. I would say I was, a kind of fly by the seat of my pants gal. Thank you.
After a few disappointing projects and a brief break away from the business, she came roaring back last summer with 2 back-to-back hits, Notting Hill and Runaway Bride. Her latest film is Erin Brockovich, based on the true story of a legal secretary who pulled off the biggest cash settlement in a direct action lawsuit in history. That film has earned her not only rave reviews, but for the first time a paycheck equal to her male counterparts. I am pleased to have Julia Roberts on this program at long last. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
This has got to be because of your personal life, because of making movies you enjoy doing, because they're well received, because Hollywood is recognizing you on the same par with the highest paid people, the best of times.
Well, yeah, and I'm old enough to appreciate it. I think I have awareness enough to recognize the blessing as it unfolds.
Yeah, you said something interesting, almost like that once. You were talking about Pretty Woman, and you said today you were 20 pounds lighter, thinner, or something, and 60 times smarter.
Something like that. I think I said I weigh about 20 pounds less, and I know about 50 things more.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, I can remember. It's been what did you mean?
Well, you know, it's funny to be in a profession where you're constantly judged, critiqued, scrutinized, however you want to classify it. I've always been very, I think, rather adept at self-observation, and certainly as Pretty Woman is a marker in my career, and so many people bring it up still today. And I think I said that at a press conference or something, and people were talking about Pretty Woman, and you know, it's really a different person almost, because it's the difference between a 20-year-old girl new in the world of show business and a 32-year-old woman who knows exactly what she wants and why she wants it and how she wants to live her life.
Is part of the success you've had, you think, in part just because of that? You have always had a clear sense of who you were and what you wanted.
Well, I think I always had a clear sense of my motivation within this business. I mean, I went through the complete adolescent, early 20s insecurities, kind of grappling at identity and all that sort of thing that I think most people do or should.
Yeah.
But I always had a really strong sense of why I wanted to make movies, what it was about that appealed to me, what that driving force was all about.
Help me understand that. Why do you want to make movies? What's that driving force?
Well, I love it, and I think that my motivations are not only pure motivations and really simple motivations. They've been consistent. They've never changed from, I mean, the excitement that I got when Erin Brockovich came together with Soderbergh and everything else, it's that same excitement as when I got Mystic Pizza.
The excitement that you know this is a thing that's right for me. This is a role, this is a combination of director and actors that's right for me, or property, what?
Well, it's kind of all of it. It's I got a job that I really like, and, and I'm excited about working with these people, and you know, now when I got Mystic Pizza, it was also, I can pay my rent, you know, which isn't part of it now, but it's still just as exciting. And so, I mean, I think that is, you know, for that kind of excitement to stand the test of time and the test of the whirlwind, which is popular media, that's a pretty strong sense of excitement.
When you find the sort of place that you are now, I mean, look at all this. This is Harper's Bazaar, this, I guess, the issue that's on the newsstand about you, and this would have probably been, except for this tragedy, probably been a cover story in Newsweek, the $20 million woman. At 32, Roberts is the most powerful and the highest paid actress in Hollywood, the star of the triumphant new movie. Erin Brockovich talks about the view from the top. Do you find that as you have so many things going well, you also feel so good about yourself that you want to work less or more?
Well, that's not really the motivator. I think it's certainly in the last few years, I feel a strong sense of security to be as selective as I can possibly be. But I think that it will always be about the piece as it comes to me, and if it sucks me in and draws my attention so much that I can't turn away from it, Even if I want to take a break and say, okay, you know, I'm just going to take it easy for a while, but then if I read that script that really clicks with me, well, then I'm just compelled to do it.
Is that what happened in Erin Brockovich?
Well, yes, because I didn't really want to work, and
my point.
And I had
New Mexico looked very attractive,
and a long nap and a bath and all those things, because I had done Notting Hill and then Runaway Bride very close together.
Same season almost. Yeah.
And I was really, you know, and I had read the script for Erin Brockovich, and then I heard that Steven Soderbergh was interested in directing it, and that got me all excited.
Because they'd done Out of Sight, and he'd also
Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and
right. That's the first one.
He's such a great director. So he came out to Baltimore where I was filming and met with me, and you know, I was so intrigued at the idea of him being my lord and master over this domain. And I said, well, you know, maybe this was, I think, we were having this conversation in January maybe, and I said, well, what about November, December? And he said, maybe, but probably May. But I couldn't turn away from it. I couldn't turn away from him, really.
Was Finney part of it?
Well, Finney came later. Steven got me in the thick of it.
Right.
And then Finney came on, and just, that man is, I adore him on every level imaginable.
You have a reputation for, according to what I read, for loving, for being fun to be with on the set, for enjoying the process, for someone who takes it seriously but also has a great time making movies.
Well, it's too long a day not to enjoy yourself, and you do have to. I take it very seriously, and I think that I'm a very focused person, but I think that there's always room for fun and camaraderie. And on this particular movie, which was, I must say, to no detraction from anybody else that I've ever been in the company of at work, but this was from A to Z of what you tabulate a good experience on. This was 100% on all fronts.
And the most important is you're in sync with the director and with your co-actors.
So in sync, but in every way. We all share, Finney and Eckhart and Soderbergh and myself and the crew and all the great actors that came in to do all the other parts. We had so many terrific actors. Everybody had the same spirit of joy and the same spirit of really happy to be there. And I think this was that perfect experience that makes you understand everything that's come before. Because everything that's come before, in all of its positive and in some of its frustration and everything else, has prepared you perfectly for this moment. And that's how I felt every day on this movie.
I would assume you just signed this terrific deal, I guess, with Joe Roth, who left Disney to form his own production company. And it's a whatever it is, 5 or 6 picture deal, whatever the deal is. But you can now say, I know what it is I like, and I'm going to try to make that happen, both in terms of choosing projects, choosing a director. Yes?
Well, I've always had this strange sense of pickiness, even when...
Pickiness?
Well, you know, when I didn't work for 2 years, I was 23, and even though I had been given a certain amount of support and had appreciated a certain amount of success, I really wanted to be so specific about the things that I did that I ended up not working for 2 years because nothing intrigued me in that way that I was really looking for. And so it wasn't until I did the Pelican Brief that I went back. So I've even when I, you know, even when I was like talking out of the side of my head and I thought people might stop asking me to make their movies, I always had that kind of sense of it's a really important moment to say you'll make a movie, and it has to be appreciated and respected for that.
But even though people were saying to you, maybe some of them were saying, listen, you better get back on the boards, you refused to choose something that you didn't feel perfectly good about.
Yeah, and I was also really fortunate because I wasn't getting pressure from people. People were really supporting my decision to, you know, and even though some scripts would come down the pike and I wouldn't have a very high opinion and other people would have a higher opinion, and I always felt very supported in my stance.
When they brought you Pelican Brief, you suggested Denzel.
Yeah. I did. I had this epiphany. And I was in Europe, and I called Pakula. And I said, I have this idea for Grey Grantham. And he said, you know, what is it? And I didn't know how he'd respond, because it's you know, we were talking about a lot of really great, capable actors, and you know, Denzel just came to me, and I said, you know, Denzel Washington, and there was this long pause, and I thought, oh, and he goes, what an inspired idea. I was like, oh, okay, good. Now he's with me. So then we took it to the studio, and everybody just, I mean, it was irresistible. He's such a brilliant actor, and I was just so pleased and stunned and thrilled that he agreed to do it.
Right. I want to come back to that and all these other things, but Erin Brockovich, you sign on with Soderbergh, then you get Finney, and then you start to do it in April or May rather than November and December, and so you're on board. This is based on a real-life person. This is based on two real-life people and a real-life lawsuit. Did you spend much time sort of debriefing these people at all to find out what she was like, or did you take all of your instruction from the script?
Well, Stephen and a writer called Richard LaGravenese.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
He's fabulous. And they did a major overhaul, revamping, really just wringing all the best elements of the truth of this story out of the piece. And Soderbergh was really my liaison to the real Erin Brockovich, and he interviewed her, and he would send me transcriptions and tapes and all these things to review, and I couldn't understand at first, because originally I said, you know, well, when can I go meet her, and where is she? And he said, well, you know, just hold off on that. And he kept putting me off, and I think all that energy in one room probably would have been too much for anybody to bear. But he was really great in feeding me information and really giving me a strong sense of her, where I felt really liberated to, because you can't be someone. I can't be Erin Brockovich. I can't look exactly like this woman.
What can you do?
Well, I can interpret her as closely and as accurately as I can.
That's what acting is about.
Well, it was for me, because I don't want to do an imitation of somebody. That's not, I don't do imitations. I'm not good at that. And I felt like there was a method to Stephen's keeping us apart for so long, which he did. And I think it was ultimately really smart. And when I kind of saw what he was doing, I realized how clever it really was. And I think that it really freed me to really go the distance with the information that I had.
But he had told you what she's like. I mean, he'd given you a sense that this was a smart, savvy, tough,
very
coming from a vulnerable place because she had kids, but determined and taking no prisoners in terms of the fact that this was, you know, it's a wonderful moment in which she's talking to the, I've forgotten the character that Eckhart plays, but the guy, George. And there's a moment in which she basically saying to him, when he's saying this job is all-consuming, she's saying, you don't know what this means to me. Right.
I felt very, very well informed by Stephen.
And then when you met her, she came on the set. She has a little walk-on role. Was she everything you imagined her to be, or that Stephen had said she was, or was she less or more of something?
Well, I had seen lots of pictures of her, so I knew what she looked like.
Attractive woman.
And beautiful. Right. And the day on the whole for me was heinous. It was terrible.
It was heinous?
It was heinous. Because I was so, well, first of all, I knew she was coming. I was so nervous. I knew she was coming, but it was one of those days where we were shooting other things, and then we were doing this scene, and I had come into the makeup trailer for a tweak, and she was in there, and just boom, she was there, and I was like...
All of a sudden, these two forces are in the same room.
Yeah, and I wasn't even Brockovich. You know, I had on my sweatpants and like a T-shirt, and, you know, and I was like, you know, and I kind of fumbled through an introduction and whatever, and then when she came to the set and she was in the scene, I was so consumed with the idea of, what is she thinking? Thank goodness it's a very simple scene.
What did she think about seeing you, or what did she think about seeing this portrayal of her life there?
All of it. Here I am pretending to be her. Here these people are pretending to be her children. We're pretending that this is her life. Like, what is she thinking? And she seemed so calm and collected that you couldn't read. You know, you couldn't read excitement, you couldn't read nervousness. She was just very cool, and I thought, oh God, and I was the antithesis of that. I was just a complete wreck.
This is great. All right, the first scene we see is when George, the aforementioned George, played well by Aaron Eckhart, tries to get your phone number. This guy is a biker.
Yeah, moves in next door.
And who moves in next door, and there's some little bit of, he's wondering what's bothering you, and here it is, and then he sort of moves in, period, and becomes an interesting counterpoint to you. Roll tape. Aaron Brockovich.
16 is the number of dollars I have in my bank account, 850-3943. That's my phone number. And with all the numbers I gave you, I'm guessing 0 is the number of times you're going to call it.
Hey, how the hell do you remember your bank balance right off the top of your head like that? See, that impresses me.
Now, what's the best line? That impresses me?
No, he says, how'd you know your bank account was on the top of your head like that? Aaron is so good in this movie, and I have to say Aaron Eckhart, because with Aaron and all the different Aarons, but he's so good in this movie.
Now, you said you loved him, and he was, the little asides in that script, that dialogue, was that stuff that he brought to it, or was it not in the script, or wasn't in the script, or what?
He always added so much to the scenes, just little lines here and there, just would pepper it with his own little thoughts as George, and it really made everything come to life so vividly. I loved performing scenes with him.
I mean, that was a great dialogue. I mean, that shows you, I would think, knowing nothing about acting, that if you are in fact an actor and somebody gives you those kind of fun lines, it can make your job 10 times
Well,
easier.
that was always one of my favorite scenes when I come out in the yard and he's got the bike and the whole thing. It's a great two characters meeting in a movie for the first time.
Setting up the whole relationship that will exist throughout the movie. All right. We're going to see another role. This is, tell me the story, which is an interesting story of who Aaron Brockovich is.
Answering this question is the most challenging part of having made this movie, because it's very complex. It's really on the 2 + 2 = 4 one-liner is, it's a single mother of 3, unemployed, cannot catch a break with a net. You know, it's just really struggling.
Can't get a job.
Cannot get anything. And she gets into a car accident, hires a lawyer, Ed Masry, played geniusly by Albert Finney. And they go to trial, don't win, and she's so disheartened now that she basically goes to him and sort of demands / begs for a job.
Yeah.
And
demands first and then begs.
Yeah, it's within that law office environment that she stumbles upon things that she doesn't understand, and in really pursuing and researching and being very diligent at her job, which no one thinks that she is, uncovers water contamination in a town called Hinckley by Pacific Gas and Electric.
And which is doing terrible things to the children of the residents.
It's making everybody sick.
Right, making everybody sick. The interesting thing about this, to me, is that I asked friends before I saw the movie, is this another Roberts romantic comedy? They said, no. I said, is it a drama? They said, well, yes, in the end especially. But is it a comedy? They said, well, yeah, there's some great lines here. So it's all of those things. It is, in part, a romantic comedy, but not a light romantic comedy like Notting Hill. Or
it just has a little bit of everything.
Yeah. But what attracted you to the character? Was it just, this is a ball-busting woman that I could learn to love?
Yeah, I just thought you could just tear this up, you know? It's the attitude.
Wait a minute. What, you can tear this up, meaning that this is stuff I can get into and really make something. I can have fun with it.
Well, there's so much to play. There's the mother to play. There's the activist to play. There's the, office worker to play. There's the girlfriend to play. There's the wardrobe to play. There's this language to play.
We're going to see the wardrobe in just the next clip. Is it part you too? I mean, do you see a little bit of saying, I know you're interpreting character and I know blah, 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 blah. But is there part of you that you saw, I mean, I like this woman so much because I see some of myself in her. Any of that?
I would like to think that injustice bothers me as much as it bothers her. I don't know if I would have the courage or tenacity to pursue it so doggedly as she did. I would like to think that if I was put in this situation that I would, but I don't know.
Yeah, I love the fact that she had such confidence, even though, I mean, she went from this position of total vulnerability to, she walks in this law office and then she gets on this little thing. But even before she found this, even before she found her footing, even before she found traction within the firm, I mean, she had a little level of self-esteem, a level of something, confidence.
Bravado.
Bravado is what it is. That's exactly what it is. Roll tape, first scene, Albert Finney.
Is that so? Well, it just so happens I think I look nice. And as long as I have one ass instead of two, I'll wear what I like, if that's all right with you.
Now, that line was there. That wasn't your ad-lib line, was it?
No, it was there.
Yeah. Now, I thought we would see, though, is a skirt. I mean, Aaron wore micro skirts.
Well, apparently,
long legs of which, yes.
I asked Soderbergh, when we were doing the press junket, I said, because people kept asking me, has she seen the movie, which I didn't know the answer to. So I passed Soderbergh in the hallway, and I said, has she seen this movie? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what did she think? Because people keep asking me. And he said, she loved it. Her only complaint was that your skirts were too long. And, you know, and they're not very long. Yeah.
Plus, it also seemed, everything seemed to be, there was cleavage, there was...
Lots of cleavage.
Lots of cleavage.
Yeah, cleavage for days.
Cleavage for days. All right. Let me just, there's one other thing here we want to show. Well, there are several more, but this is the last one. Knowing that you had valuable information in the case, this is where you go in and try to get a raise. Still, we're early into this thing, but roll tape and see another scene between Julia Roberts and Albert Finney. Roll tape.
Okay, 5% raise. We'll talk about benefits later.
10. There are lots of other places I could get work.
10% raise and benefits. That said, I'm drawing the line.
Hold on. We were just talking about Finney while we were watching that. And how when you work with someone who's got such a reputation, I said to you while we were watching it, do you want to go back and watch the old movies? And you said that, but also you found out that this guy is even more in person. And then you said he sent you a note that...
He just, when we finished this movie, which was really a sad day for all of us, it was kind of startlingly...
Breaking up a family.
It was really, really hard on everybody. And Finney had come up to me on that last day and grabbed me and gave me one of those big, hard hugs where you feel like a person's going to break your bones, you know, and just like kind of was saying in my ear with that great raspy voice, and he was like, you know, it's been great, and just really effusive and really dear in what he was saying to me. And then a few weeks later, I received a note from him in the mail, and I'll never forget it, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it, but it was just the dearest thing. He wrote me this note, and at the end he said, there was one line from the movie that was excluded, but I always wanted to say it, so I'll say it now. You are my sovereign queen.
Wow.
From Albert Finney.
My sovereign queen.
That's it. I'm done. Right?
You don't need to do anymore.
Oh,
that's
gosh.
great.
Yeah. Look, I'm all like blushy just thinking about it.
You are my sovereign queen. And what'd you write back and say?
Well, I think I ended up talking to him on the phone. And, but he treats me like a queen. He totally does. When I saw him at the press junket, he brought me Irish soda bread, which is my favorite thing. Yeah. And he brought some for me all the way from Europe. Isn't that sweet?
This film that I have seen and that you made and that Soderbergh directed, is it the movie that you see that everything that you wanted it to be? In other words, you don't have any complaints about the way it turned out at all?
No.
You know, he put the movie together you like, everything worked out.
I had every faith in Soderbergh, and when I saw this movie, I saw it at a, I don't know what you call it, preview screening, and it happened to be my boyfriend's birthday. And so I said, I hate to impede on your birthday celebration, but will you fly with me to this town so we can go see Aaron Brockovich? Because we were both equally excited to see it. And so off we went to see it, and when it was over, first of all, it's kind of bizarre because there's so much of me in it that I feel almost a little overwhelmed by just my own self. But the movie was over, and Benjamin Soderbergh and I were out in the parking lot, and we were just vibrating with excitement. It wasn't even like I could really say to Stephen, you did a great job, or this I really like, or this was really good. It was just an overall sense of, I was just really vibrating with excitement that everyone all the actors in this movie are so good. I just was like, I was levitating in the parking lot, you know? And it's so nice to be able to feel just openly and without shame pride in something that you've participated in.
The best thing you think you've ever done?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But also the most I've ever been offered to do. So it's not that, you know, I was slinging crap before. But this is the most complex person and scenario upon scenario upon scenario. And also Stephen really demands excellence. He wants what he wants. And what was lovely about our working relationship is we fell in sync so quickly that it just was there between us all the time. What he wanted and what I had to offer was just really in sync.
Can you look at movies that you feel this way about and movies that didn't work so well in box office, and see why? I mean, do you know why, for example, Michael Collins, a film that I like because I like history and because I like Liam and because I like you, but didn't do that well at the box office? For reasons I don't quite know, because...
Well, that's an example of just a crying shame, I think, that movie not being seen by more people. And it doesn't matter about money, but it's just too bad that more people didn't see it, because it's a great story. Neil Jordan is a great director. He wrote a beautiful screenplay.
Exactly my point.
It is visually stunning.
If there's any role that Liam should play, it's that one.
Yeah, the big fella.
Yeah, the big fella.
It's a beautiful, beautiful movie, and it's a pity that more people weren't exposed to it. And I don't know. That's a movie that I wouldn't have an answer as to why. I mean, perhaps people weren't drawn to it because it seemed historical, but they're missing how compelling that history was and what a great drama Neil wrote in the screenplay of his life.
I like Pelican Brief too, you know, and I didn't think it had done so well. I realized later it did more than $100 million and did well, I guess, overseas or whatever it did.
I call it the pelican that laid the golden egg.
Why do you say that?
Just because that's a movie that just constantly is making money till the end of time. That movie's making
maybe it's
money.
because of John Grisham, maybe it's because of you, maybe because of Denzel. But I said to Denzel, gee, I mean, I said to him a couple of weeks ago, I like this, even though I'm thinking that most people didn't like it, thinking that I'm just going to say this because of the way I felt, and thinking he'd probably be pleased because it was his... He looked at me like, what was wrong with that movie? I mean, why didn't everybody like it? I was, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a movie that I have a lot of people talk to me about on the street or the bus or whatever. People, you know, Pelican was on television the other night, and they just, people like that movie.
Do you have in your own head those that mean the most to you? I mean, Pretty Woman, I assume, means a lot because it was as you say, a moment in your career, professional career.
Well, but it meant a lot before it was even that to me.
Why?
Because it was one of those just really remarkable times, and it was so much fun making the movie, and I felt like I worked really hard and had such a nice time, and it was just a really valuable experience for me as a person and as an actor. So what it is to me today is what it was for me the day I wrapped that movie. Pelican Brief is another major moment in my life because it was the first movie that I'd done in 2 years, and to work with Pakula, who I loved and missed so much, and to work with Sam again, who was so great.
You're the only person we know who you said, he's the only person that you've worked twice with, Sam Shepard.
Yeah, and he played my boyfriend, and it was all scandalous, and I loved that. And then, of course, Denzel rounding out the perfection of a summer that my life would be incomplete without.
What was the time like between... Did you make Steel Magnolias before you made Mystic Pizza?
No, I made Mystic Pizza and then Steel Magnolias.
Okay, because I thought they came out that way, but so that was the order you made them as well as the order they came out. Because I knew that they'd come out that way, but I thought maybe you've made Steel Magnolias. Did Steel Mystic Pizza help you get Steel Magnolias, or did they hire you before Mystic Pizza had come out? You don't know.
I can't remember. However, there is a sense, a really strong sense I had back then, and was just talking about this to a friend the other day, that whole early period of time was really a moment of me feeling as though work begets work, because I had done a movie called Satisfaction, and then shortly after that got a movie for HBO called Baja, Oklahoma, with Peter Coyote.
Yep,
There's the second person I've worked with twice.
That's
yes,
right.
so there's two.
Right.
And then right after that did Mystic Pizza. So it's that and I don't know if it's something that a person does when they come into a room and they can say, well, I've just finished this film, you know, down in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And before it comes out and people know that it's shit. But,
No,
and you know, maybe there's a confidence, because it just seemed like I would get a job and I would finish it, and then I would get another job, and then another. And so I did those 3 movies, Satisfaction, Baja, Oklahoma, and Mystic Pizza, all kind of in a row.
Yeah.
That was a year that I worked, and then did Steel Magnolias, and then did Pretty Woman.
Yeah, but you got all these awards because of Steel Magnolias. You got nominations up your kazoo, right?
Yeah.
And you were the only one, and you had a lot of talent in that room.
Well, but I think that's the best example, the most obvious example to me, that there's no such thing as a singular achievement in movies. So my name can be on the little statue, but there's that movie specifically. Without those women, I would never have delivered the performance that was appreciated. Without Sally and Shirley, Olympia, Dolly, Daryl, it's because of them that I was able to achieve what I achieved in that film, and the recognition that I received for that was a group effort. There was no singular achievement at all.
What is it they give you?
Unconditional support.
Really?
All of them.
So, and also they raise the standard pretty high. You know that you're among the best, and so therefore you better rise up.
Exactly.
And if you rise up to that level, you're going to have a lot of support to try and take chances to be even better than you might imagine.
Well, and to feel, you know, most of my scenes were with Sally, who I had met because I had done a movie that her husband at the time had produced. So I had actually met her once. And when I went in for like my last audition on Steel Magnolias, there had been like 3 or something, and then the last one I went in, she was there, and I'll never forget, she said, "Oh, it's so nice to see you again." I thought, oh, Sally Field remembers me, and it was so exciting, and it really made me feel,
That sounds
you
like a
know,
line that Sally would say at the Academy Awards.
And all through the making of the movie, she always just made me feel like I was either doing it well or, you know, come on, you can do it better, but encouraging me in the best, most loving way, and making me feel like her peer. And it just really elevated my participation, I think.
You had no sense that when you went to make what became Pretty Woman, which was in the beginning was what called $3,000?
$3,000.
Which is what the amount of money she made for the evening or something?
Mm-hmm. For the weekend.
For the weekend.
For the week.
For the week, whatever it was. You had no sense that this had this power.
No.
This film was made like $500 million.
I know.
And did you? You know.
Yeah.
But did you guys have any sense? Did Gary understand it, or did Gear understand after that when you finished and wrapped this thing up that this somehow, folks, we don't know why, but it's come together to be something pretty damn good?
Well, the best way to answer that question is to relay a story that I was told where, and don't misunderstand, we had so much fun making this movie.
Right.
We were happy people. But when we finished and Gary put the movie together as sort of rough assembly or whatever, and he had called 2 of the people that worked on the movie to come over and see it. And as the story was told to me, these 2 people said, you know, let's have lunch before we go see the movie. And they had lunch to sit and talk about, okay, now, if it's really, really bad, we'll just tell them, you know, Gary, we had fun. We all loved each other. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You know, it doesn't matter. You know, that's how much they were prepared for it not to be good, because it was pretty chaotic. We were halfway through the movie and we still didn't have a really finished script, and we were making stuff up leftover, right, and just kind of like, blah, you know, but it was fun. And
so Gary must have done magical things in the editing room.
Well, what I say about Gary is that because we shot so much stuff making this movie, we made 10 movies.
Yes.
And 7 of them were unwatchable. 2 of them, good on TV.
Yeah.
And Gary found the one
that was there.
Yeah.
Do you fall in love, and have you fallen in love more than once with people that you're acting with?
Well, yeah. Yeah, man.
Well, just...
Have you seen any of my movies?
Yes, I have. But I mean, like Kiefer you fell in love with.
Oh, that kind of
Oh, yeah,
love.
that kind of love. Oh, no, I don't mean that. I mean, is it something for you, about the movie set that sort of makes you...
Well, I don't think so, because the two people that I've loved in my life, I didn't meet on a movie set.
Lyle.
And Benjamin.
The two people you've loved in your life, you didn't meet on a movie set. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the rest of it about then? You had to have relationships that you were not madly in love.
Charlie, it's called being 20, being flirty, having a good time. I mean, this is simple math, honey.
All right, well, just explain to me.
Yeah, no, it's called...
It's just having fun. It's recreational.
It's having fun. I mean, it's not frivolous.
No, I know.
But it's
not the marrying kind.
It's having fun, and it's working nonstop.
Right.
I mean, my question was, because I couldn't understand some of the early scrutiny about me dating a person that I work with.
Yeah.
But I was working constantly. So who did people expect me to meet?
It's the only person you met, where people were in the movie business.
Well, and also the only people that asked me out, or whatever it was. But I just thought, why is it unusual that an actor would go out with an actor? It seemed an odd criticism, but yeah,
I don't
there
think
you
of it
have
as criticism. I just think of it as...
Well, you're sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it was generally a criticism from other people.
it can be.
It
I
can
think.
be.
But I think that
Does it make it
there's-
more fun if you're having a great love affair with somebody on the set while you're making a movie with him?
well,
More interesting?
not necessarily.
Not really.
We're really getting down to brass
Yeah, we are.
tacks
We're going
now.
right into it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Runaway Bride, did you have the same chemistry with Richard that you did in the first one? Was it there still?
Well, it was different. I think
Really?
it was a little
Was
more
he-
mature. A little.
Oh, we had two adults now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can vote now. Take that.
Well, take that.
No, it's a big difference, 10 years. And I think that it was really bizarre, very kind of just ripe for Freudian analysis, I always thought. And
Ripe for Freudian analysis?
Yeah. But again, the thing that I think really comes across as that people define as chemistry between Richard and I is again, it's that energy that flows between us that is just tangible. It just is really strong and apparent. And I think that's what makes this chemistry thing happen.
Same thing with Denzel, and same kind of sense of chemistry.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
I mean, two people who click. You on stage, you want to watch these two people. There was something magical about those.
Well, and with Denzel, I love him so much, and I love watching him work. I think that he is a master of his craft. And it was so funny one day because we were doing Pelican Brief, and there was a scene where I'm supposed to be hysterical in this alley, and he's trying to hold me up, and I'm crying, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like vomiting or whatever I'm doing. And Pakula says, don't really push it or whatever, because we're going to be way back here, and we'll barely even see you, and I don't want you to put yourself through it and whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'm in my trailer, I'm talking on the phone, I'm watching TV. They call me to the set, and I go out there, and the camera's right there.
Right in your...
No, it's so close.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
can't
mean.
I'm just like, I said, Alan,
this is a long shot.
And he says, well, we changed things around a little bit. I'm like, oh my God. And I start panicking. And I turned to Denzel. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because he knew what had been told me before. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And he said, act.
Hello, you're an actress.
And I was so like, oh God, there's a thought, and pulled it off. But I pulled it off more just by Denzel being so pragmatic about it. And it really, his direction got me through.
All right, now this is not that scene, but this is a scene from Pelican Brief. Here it is. Denzel Washington, Julia Roberts.
I'll take my chances.
You can't, under any circumstances, use my name or reveal where or how you got the information or publish anything until I've left the country. Agreed?
Unless I can convince you otherwise.
Well, you can't.
Man, he is good, isn't he?
He's so good.
You want him to win the Academy Award?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I think he won the Golden Globe, so he's got the shot.
I handed it to him.
That's
I presented it to him.
Yes.
I loved it so much.
Remember Alan Pakula, who tragically was killed on the Long Island Expressway?
I loved him.
Yeah.
I did everything he told me. And that was, up until Aaron Brockovich, Pelican Brief was the experience that I held out as the one to beat in my personal experiences, because it was so idyllic and so creative and fun and supportive, and shooting nights in New Orleans, what can be more fun? And he really led the parade of that movie, and I loved him.
Here is Alan Pakula talking about you. Roll tape.
When I read the book, when I read the treatment outline, I saw Julia, and I went down. I talked to John Grisham, and he said, "Well, you're seeing Julia because I'm seeing Julia as I write it." And I had met with Julia a few months before that, just having seen her in a couple of pictures, including Pretty Woman, and I felt I'd love to work with her. And we had 3 hours together and just talking about life, and I felt this is somebody I can communicate with. There are wonderful actors you should work with and wonderful actors you shouldn't work with. We just don't have that spark together.
Right.
So I saw this. It was very right for her. I was fascinated by it for other reasons. I love the idea of one person taking on the establishment and winning. It's in a lot of my films, obviously. It's a great fantasy of mine. And so I went to Julia and I said, "This is absolutely right for you." I said, it needed somebody who was strong but also very vulnerable. And it needed somebody who was bright enough to do this.
Nice, huh? The two movies that you did before, Notting Hill and Runaway Bride, tell me about Notting Hill.
Great, fun, whimsy, and another script I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go back to work, and...
You didn't want to go back to work?
Well, I was relaxing.
Now, this was after you and Ben had come together and you were madly in love?
Yes, and I was relaxing, and with my thoughts happy at home, and was given the, as they would say, pitch of this, the sort of thumbnail sketch of what this script was about on the telephone, and I thought, ugh, what dreck,
yes,
what,
Right.
And then I read the script, and it was so charming and so funny that I just thought, how can I not do this?
You make these decisions yourself. You're not on the phone. You're not comparing. You don't bring in a bunch of people that you trust. It is sort of, it has to hit you in the gut before, It's you and you alone.
I listen to people's opinions, but I have to make the decision. I mean, I've made movies that other people didn't think I should make, and I've not made movies that other people thought I should make, but ultimately, I have to feel it because I have to do it, and then I'm the one that has to really openly, outwardly live with the result for the rest of my life.
Roll tape. This is from Notting Hill.
You have a stunt bottom?
Well, I could have a stunt bottom, yes.
Wow, and are people tempted to go for better bottoms than their own?
Yeah, I mean, I would. This is important stuff.
Well, it's one hell of a job, isn't it?
We were talking about Rupert Everett, who's also... recently was here. He's writing a script. He's written a couple of scripts, but isn't he writing something that he might want you to do or something?
Yes, well, that's what he threatens.
Are you going to do it or not do it?
Yeah, if it's good, I tell him. If it's no good, I won't do it. But yeah, no, he's working on something for us, and I just was talking to him the other day, and I'm constantly saying, where is it? Where is it? It's coming, it's coming.
Yeah, everyone's busy acting.
But yeah, no, he's so smart and funny, and I love acting with Rupert so much that it would be great if he wrote something.
Well,
really
you could have had that role
together.
that Madonna had. Hello.
Yeah, I mean,
but there are lots of those.
Yeah.
It comes and goes.
Yeah.
Other people.
But I also thought that that was, Rupert and I need to pick our next moment, and I think it needs to be very smart because the characters that we played, My Best Friend's Wedding, were such great characters, and their chemistry was so terrific, and that whole rapport. So we want to really find something that's really original and fabulous and interesting to do as our next foray.
So back to where we began after this hour. So you are the most powerful celebrity, somebody said. You have just made a movie that you love and think is your best work. You love spending time in New Mexico. You have a wonderful relationship that's nourishing for you. You probably are as happy as you've ever been. saw a wonderful picture of you and your mom together. Where
Mhm.
I guess you're everything that she dreamed you would be when you left Smyrna at 16 or 17 or 18 or whatever you were to come to New York. How do you use this power? What is it? What's the fantasy?
Well, first of all, the idea of power is so abstract and unconscious. I'm not consciously powerful.
I understand you don't sit around saying powerful, but you know.
However, there is
that
a
you do
moment
have the
where,
juice.
as a responsible adult,
Exactly.
you have to acknowledge that
Right.
power. And you have to acknowledge that you have some kind of effect in the world, whether it be in your own home with your family or walking down the street and the person that comes up to you, even though you've got groceries hanging off you and the phone's going and the whole thing, you know. You have to have some sense of respecting the position that you've been blessed to hold. I am infinitely grateful for the path that I'm on, and I wake up happy almost every day. So,
Think about children.
I do. Well, I've been asked about it quite a lot, having 3 kids in Aaron Brockovich, and because my boyfriend's so dreamy. So I get asked it a lot. But it's certainly something, I mean, I think family is incredibly important, and I have a really beautiful family, so to make it bigger one of these days, you know, it will certainly happen, I'm sure.
It's been great to have you here.
Thank you
so much for
Thank you, Charlie.
Julia Roberts for the hour. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.